Hi everyone, Bungo Bob here. We've just loaded the van and we're off to Acorn Fishery this morning. Should be good. Should take us about 50 minutes. It's a Saturday morning, not a Sunday this weekend we're going. Most of the opens Acorn are either in the week or on Saturdays. Last time we were down there we had that good weight. We had a nice little corner peg, little bit of room, so hoping to be a little bit more bungo today. The weight's been really good. I've been keeping me on the weights there. I think hard pellet might play a part today, sort of on short lines, not just across, but sort of in front of us, I'm hoping. Or we may have to sort of play with our ground bait and maggots, etc. down the side again. But we've got all that with us anyway. We've loaded all the kit. So we're going to travel now. It's a Saturday, so it takes about 50 minutes, and we're going to pop into the Bridge Inn for a nice breakfast, meet up with a few friends. So here we are, it's Soggy Peg 33. What can I say? Not really the draw I wanted, to be honest, although a couple of people in the draw queue did say they fancied it. I just think the wind is going right to left. There's only two pegs to my right, and then it's sort of, that's the end of the lake. It's sort of a dead end, if you like. So for me, with the wind blowing right to left, it's sort of blowing out of the arm, if you like. So I can't say I was really keen, if I'm honest. Doesn't mean we won't be trying our best, or Chris Fox, who runs these matches as well, pays top 5. There's no sections or anything. It's just top 5 overall. So there's always a chance, I think, from anywhere. But as I say, I wasn't over enthusiastic, but I never worry about things like that. Once I'm sat in my peg and set up, so as soon as I got to my peg down and started setting up, the first thing I realised today is I forgot my keep net arm. Can't believe it. I got a Preston keep net arm. I can put 5 nets on it at a time, and I've got nothing to put my nets on. So to put myself behind, I've had to run to the shop, get a single arm, so I can put one keep net there at least. And just figured what I'll do is once I fill one net up, I'll just pull it off to the side and put another one down. Not ideal when you're trying to catch short, and that certainly seems to be the sort of method here at the moment. I've been keeping me on the results and how people are catching and chatting to people, etc. And it does seem like pellet short seems to be the way. So I have started with that here.
But it started with it, but at the same time, I was thinking in the back of my head, like, Bob, you're off the wind. Um, it's quite cool. The temperature's dropped an awful lot of degrees. As you can see, the weather's quite abysmal. And I kept thinking to myself, go to the shop and buy some maggots. I did buy a couple of pints of maggots, but unfortunately I bought dead ones. That's more for me ground bait and that later on down the edges. But I was really thinking I should have bought some maggots just to throw short and catch everything. But anyway, we've gone the hard pellet route. We've had a couple of small fish. We've had a little tench and a tiny carp. And we also end up catching a small skimmer on this. The setup's quite positive. It's 016, a 16 hook, pellet band, LWG, hook as usual, our sort of guru hook. But it didn't really happen. We've wasted 45 minutes at the start. Even worse than that, I mean, typical really, the start we've had the day, but we've turned round and we actually seen Gareth on the opposite bank over there. You can see his little white van over there. We actually seen his elasticating him playing a fish. So Rich to my left and Jamie Rich to my right and me were sort of sat there, seen him playing a fish and realised the match had started. The wind was such we couldn't actually hear the call, so we started later than everybody else. Gone short, forgot to keep that arm. Caught a couple of little tiddlers of bits and bobs, and then I've gone across as you can see, and that's how quick it was across. And I'm kicking myself, to be honest. I've gone across with 4mm pellets, doing like we always do, and we're away, and I'm sort of already I'm thinking, oh dear, I should have been doing this from the start really, and then priming that short line. So I continue to feed that short line. And all we've set up today is 14.5 metres over to the corner there near the bridge, you can see, in the shallow water, where there's plenty of stockies, as you can see this one we're playing now. And then we've set up for both edges and that short line in front of us with pellets. Now, I'm continuing to feed that with pellets and hope it's going to come good later, but in the back of my mind, I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. And we're double shipping as well. You probably noticed we're having to, because there's a fence behind us, we're a full wooden post and rail fence, so we've got to break down twice, and that's never ideal in the wet either, is it really? But it's always good fishing here, don't get me wrong. I love it. I'm absolutely, especially now, tapping in a few pellets, getting some bites, lowering that little light rig in. I absolutely love it. Look how fast that was. It's brilliant, isn't it? So catching across, and then down our edges for later, just so you know, it was quite deep. Due to having to run off and get an arm and everything, you only get an hour and a quarter to set up anyway. So time I got my kit to my peg, I've had an hour. Then I've realised I didn't have my keep net arm, so I've ran back to the shop to try and sort of get one in there. I didn't want to buy a full Preston one because I've already got one of those. I don't want to spend sort of however much it is buying another one, so I just got a single one. So catching a few across straight away, as you can see. And now here's the this is what I was talking about before down here. If you have a look now, I'm waiting on a bite. Now I fed, missed a couple of indications because of the wind. Now it doesn't look like there's much wind on the water, but believe me, there is wind. What's happening is it's sort of hitting into the small bank and it covers the water, so it's not looking too bad on the water here, but it is buffeting the pole around. At times I'm really struggling. At times it drops and I get lulls, but it is quite bad. Now, still waiting, and I just been a little bit lazy there. Because of the rain and conditions, you just sit there sort of waiting. So there you are. Look, we've come back. We're going to re-top up the pot. And this is what I say. You really want to be going over there, dropping in your pellets and fishing for 30 seconds. You don't want to be fishing on these snake lakes on this sort of style of fishing, I don't think. Sitting your pole there over the fish for very long. Um, and I think they've cleared out those pellets. I've missed me up that sort of window, that chance, and they're gone. So threw a few pellets there in on our short line. Look, we got 3 foot deep on our top kit there, so that's where we're feeding. We originally looked to go a bit further, but it's such a deep peg close in. I was quite surprised at the depth. So back across. A little lift and drop. Fighting with the wind a little bit there. A lift and drop again. And there we are. So that took a little while, but I wasn't worried because we didn't get any liners or touches or stuff like that. If you start getting a few liners, a couple of touches, you might miss a bite or what looks like a bite, and then all of a sudden it goes quiet and you're still sat there. You've missed your opportunity. You've got to come back, refill that pot. You know, you've got to work at it. You're breaking down the pole twice as well, so but it is what it is. You just have to work at it. If you don't work at it, you won't catch. It's quite a busy method, that. So going back to this peg, and we pulled out of that one. It really, our cup of joy is really running over, isn't it? It's we're having quite a start today. There you go. These things happen. Not the best of starts, etc. We've just pulled out of that fish as well. Um, but it's just head down, isn't it? You just got to keep at it. Can't let your head go down. That's the thing I think I'm trying to say in match fishing. You've just got to take these things on the chin and just think, do you know what? I'm just going to see what I can do with this peg in these conditions on this given day, no matter what I forgot or whatever happened. I'm just going to keep my head down, see what I can do. And sometimes you come out and you can be quite surprised. But I'm fishing against a lot of people that come down here an awful lot. They come down and well, there's some people who fish here who are extremely good on here who only fish this venue as well. So to try and keep up with them, because they fish every series that comes along as well, it's difficult, isn't it? You know, when you're fishing all the other venues you fish as well yourself, it is difficult. And I'm only fishing one sort of series down here at the moment, which is Chris Fox's. And that's 7 matches, 5 of which count. Well, 2 of them I miss anyway, so it's literally the 5 I fish count. That's it, and that's the only times I'm coming down. So it's quite difficult to keep up with the other people. But you can't be worried about that. As I say, you just got to come down, do your best, and have a go. As you've seen, we pulled out of that fish. We went back short, had a little go short again, and surprise, surprise, didn't catch on it. Um, yeah, so back across, and it's there's quite a few stockies over there, isn't there? Just lovely fishing. Across, we're fishing our normal zero point 0.1 rig, putting not many pellets in the pot at all. 4 mil on the hook, you know, anything from a dozen 4 mils in the pot to 4 mils, um, depending whether we're trying to sort of draw fish in or whether we've got fish already there, then it's just very few pellets going in, isn't it? Um, Fishing at 012 hook length, not heavy at all. I know that sounds silly light, and a lot of people think, oh, you know, but at Acorn across, it's about getting the bite and getting it fast. I would far sooner be playing a fish slowly and taking me time and not having me pole sat over their heads across and giving them plenty of time to rest and recuperate before I go across again, than I am sat there holding that pole over their heads across and waiting longer for a bite. So it's 012, a size 20, Guru, LWG, PTFE, hook, a little microband 4mm pellet, and it's just standard for me here, and it just works all the time. Should have been across doing this at the start, as I say, but there you are. But we're catching well now. We're playing catch up, I must admit. Looking around on a few people, we're playing catch up. Each side of me, though, I have to say, is, well, Rich to my left is struggling a bit, and Jamie Rich to my right is fishing for silvers anyway, but he's not being carped out either. I think that says something in itself as well. I submit it looks quite industrial, this peg, doesn't it, today? Lots of pipes and all sorts going on in this peg since I was last in it. And an awful lot of wildfowl on the islands, mainly geese, isn't it? Don't particularly like geese, if I'm honest, but as long as they stay over there, we're all right. So another fish across, and I think now in our heads we've sort of made up our minds. That's it. We're staying across until we can, drop in somewhere short and start catching maybe, and give ourselves a rest from fighting in the wind. So steady away now, isn't it? Not really fast, not really big fish, but steadily putting fish in the net. And when I work it out, we're probably putting a fish in the net every 3, 4 minutes. If you work that out per hour, if it's 4 minutes of fish, it's 15 fish an hour. That's all right, isn't it? Having a bit of banter with Jamie to our right. We used to fish with Jamie. Jamie Rich writes a little blog himself. Very nice little blog. Been doing it for years. I think he's actually wrote a book, to be honest. Well, I know he has. And he's on about writing a second one. He's a good lad. He used to fish with him in Sharp Match Group many years ago. We had some good fun together down at Porth Reservoir, places like that. Really good. Staying away for the weekend down at Newquay. Good times. So still across. I can't really catch anywhere else. I'm looking to my left, past Rich on pegs 1, 2 to 3, 4, 5 on the island, and all of them are catching short in front of them. Um, I'm not sure what they're catching on, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's hard pellets on some of them pegs. But it's certainly not happening on mine. Nor is it happening on Rich's actually on my left.
I know, mate. I was just moaning to myself actually once again and saying the glasses keep getting all wet, can't see out of them, and you bloody pellets I'm trying to keep dry. I just broke on a 10 pounder on the short line just now, wrecking it. I'm having a, yeah, I'm having a, yeah, it's just a still, but if he moans, he's still bad. I'm moaning just some shit. Oh, I've got one there, found one.
It's good fishing, isn't it? Still catching a few across. Brilliant fishing, to be honest. Um, yeah, lovely. Can't beat it. Hard pellet fishing across. It's quite deep. The lake is actually full right up. When I sort of looked at the water lines, I was quite surprised at how high. You can see sort of where it's up next to that pipe on the bridge, can't you? It is very high at the moment, full up, I'd say. I don't think you can get any more in here. Um, which has made it quite deep across as well, sort of 2 foot, which is almost too deep. But didn't foul hook that many. Um, Same with the edges. Coming back to what we plumbed up originally as well. So we plumbed up our short line, which was a top kit plus a short four, which was too deep. I came back, found 3 foot on the top kit because we didn't have keep nets everywhere, so we had plenty of room there to plumb up. Um, and it never came good anyway, so it didn't really matter. But and then the two edges, I was rushed to set up. As I was saying earlier, you only get an hour and a quarter to set up anyway. We had to run back to the shop, forgot our keep net arm, etc., etc. And so I put my zero point 0.4 Elco, my Malma's Elco, in down for the edge, and I've probably got about 2 3/4 feet. I couldn't believe it, how deep it was. I know it's got a bit of extra water on. I know it's a fairly deep margin anyway, but I just couldn't believe how deep it was. Uh, but I decided I was still going to fish my damp ground bait, micros and such, maggots. A little bit of corn in there as well to make the carp suck that little bit harder. So I get some sort of positivity on the bristle to strike at with the maggots on the hook. Um, and I never foul hooked a fish down the edge, which goes to show, doesn't it? Just think with the conditions being that much cooler, that rain and everything, they really were quite down on the bottom. And finally, we got a fish down the edge. I was looking across the lake there, and I can see Gareth and a few others, and they've caught down the edge probably 45 minutes before I've caught this one. So again, we just seem to be behind again, but we're catching down there now, so brilliant. And they're better stamp fish, aren't they? Straight away. Doing the usual down there. So it's 50/50 micros, really damp tom fit ground bait. Nice, I knock up about 2 pints of it at the same time, so a pint of each, then a big handful of corn, big handful of dead maggots. Mix it all up together. Nice tall cab pot, not massive. I mean, you've got to try and get the right size cab pot on there for the day it is. Sometimes you can put in too much, sometimes it's not enough. So you have to sort of play about with your cab pots till you get confident of being able to read that. I can't really explain it, but the cab pot I got on seems about right. Yeah, and we just touch it down on the water. It's quite important to say I got hose in all those cab pots I use for this. You want to drill hose in bottom of those cab pots if you haven't got a hose in them, sort of when they were pre-made or whatever, because you need to be able to touch them down on the water, and you can't really see it here, but you can see we turn it over, you touch it down in the water, so the pot's right under the water, and the water gets into those hose behind, which allows, as soon as you pick the pot up, it just empties. So it empties all in one go, so that bait goes down as more of a blob rather than a column, and that's very important. That helps keep those fish on the deck and gives you a nice clean bite. You don't want to be lining fish in that. And that's why we've only gone a top kit to the right as well. That may seem very close, but because of the depth and the wind and everything else, I thought I'll get away with being that close. Just, you don't want to be drawing loads of fish into the peg, but at the same time you want to be drawing some fish in, so it is a bit of a gamble, but I just felt because of the depth a top kit was right. And to me left, it's actually less than a top kit, to be honest. It's probably about 2/3 of a top kit, but exactly the same depth, exactly the same rig. It's absolutely ideal. Definitely better fish, aren't they?
More like that behind you.
Way back in the lake.
Don't start, Jamie. Let's tell him.
Is he starting on that there? That's silver down there.
He's
That's nice.
again.
You should take his trolley down again.
He's bouncing it again with the weather, isn't he? That was it.
Shut up.
That's bloody cold. Typical British summer, innit? I've actually sat here so fucking wet and over it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Trouble, isn't it?
typical British weather, mate, isn't it? Typical British summer.
So back down to the left hand side, um, sort of alternated between the two. Tried to sort of catch two fish off a line before changing, but it didn't always pan out like that. It just felt really strange, to be honest. I can't say, oh, it didn't feel like there was fish there, because this is Acorn and it's lovely fishery. There's fish in all the pegs, fantastic fishing. I mean, really enjoyable fishing, to be honest. I do enjoy coming down here. Got to try and get down here a little bit more, to be honest. I'm going to do the Winter League down here, which would be really interesting with the amount of silvers in here now as well. I'm quite sure they're going to come into it a bit. But yeah, today was very sporadic. One minute I'd have sort of fish down one edge, and then next minute you'd have nothing there. You go to the other line expecting it to be good because it's had a rest. It wasn't necessarily so. It was a little bit all over the shop, but I just put it down to the conditions and that, really. And the fact, like I said before, with the wind pushing out the arm, I think. But nonetheless, just superb fishing. And the rain's actually relented a little bit now, hasn't it? I'm soaking wet, mine, but and all your hands get wet. You've got a job to get a pellet and the band to go across and all sorts, haven't you? Catching one or two better fish now, mind. So a little lift and drop there you've seen, just to entice that bite. That works quite often with maggots down the edge. We don't do it sort of constantly, but if I've been sat there sort of a minute and it hasn't gone, I just real slow lift up. I'm not talking like lifting a whole float out the water, just the body of the float, an inch and a half out the water, and then just drop it back down. And the amount of times that buries within 10 seconds afterwards is, yeah, amazing, really. So going into the last hour, we fished 11 till 5. And unfortunately for me, running into the last hour, it actually slowed. My fifth hour was definitely best. I sort of other people were catching down their edges way before me, and once we did start catching down the edges, it started to get good, and I thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be all right. The fifth hour, I started catching down there. It's really good. But then this last hour, it slowed considerably. And then also, weirdly enough, what I did catch was small. Why that is, I don't know. Just, yeah, the fish just got quite small. It felt like we were within sort of striking distance as well. Then when we had that sort of good hour, I thought, yeah, we ain't miles off now, and I still feel like we're in striking distance of that sort of top five place. But I think, you know, 20, 30 pound is nothing, and that's what it's going to be down to. I don't think we're going to get top sort of two or three, no chance, because I know Peg Nine's got a very good angler on it, and the wind's blowing right into him. I named that peg at the start. I thought that's going to be a hard peg to beat with the right angler on it. You can see quite a few other anglers as well on good pegs catching quite well, but I did feel like we were in striking distance. So we'll have to wait and see. But you can only catch what's there. I don't feel there was anything different I could do in my feeding to suddenly attract better fish. I think it was just a case of wading. You just had to catch what was there, and that's it. It's just head down, continue to catch them. Lovely days fishing though, regardless of the weather. I keep saying it, but it really is. There's nothing like putting that float in and hitting those little dinks on the maggots. Some of the bites are so tiny. That's a better one, isn't it? And then sort of back to the squeakers again. But as I say, that's just how it is. Sometimes you just have to wade. I did try a piece of corn on the hook. I did catch fish with it, but it just took longer. I just felt maggots was always right. 3 to 5 dead red maggots on a 16 hook was the fastest thing really. I did have a few worms on me, but I just don't think it was, weather's just all wrong for it. Worms didn't seem that good at all. So the kit down the edge as usual. It's a 016 hook length, 2.0 line on the rig, oh 04 Malman Elco, and a 16 B911. Never feel any need to go any heavier down here. We're coming up to the end of the match now. Um, and I will say there were 3 weights over £200, which I didn't feel we were ever going to get from this peg on the day. 250 actually won it from peg 9. Um, and then there was 2 weights over 200, and then I won't tell you. I will tell you that fifth was £188. So you'll have to wait and see for a couple of seconds where it was we ended. But we had a lovely day's fishing. Thanks for watching, everybody. Do stay tuned, see how we got on, and I'll speak to you all again.